Can we all see that all good?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're just going to go with Dominoes. This is kind of a conceptual offense, and a lot of the ideas are from these guys like we talked about last week. So Zico, Ross, Alex, and then Mike McKay, who's from Basketball Canada, has some really good ideas around dynamic 1v1 and the modern way to play. But to start with, so Dominoes is advantage offense. So it's not an offense in itself. It's like a conceptual framework, I suppose. So it's the offense behind the offense. And it's pretty much any time that we get the defense in a closeout or a rotation or an outnumbered situation, we now must space the floor to try and get a good shot. Obviously, what a great shot is depends on your philosophy, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But pretty much Dominoes is just the idea behind an offense. So I've got some clips here to show. Some girls' high clips and some NBA clips. So it can be as basic as possible. We've got a closeout to attack. She drives, she kicks it. We get a wide open shot. NBA example. And let me know if it's real laggy on the video and I can kind of slow it down. So advantage, we've got a cutter, someone said to help, now we're in Dominoes. Simoni's coming down, run a little pick and roll, nothing on, keep moving it. They get an advantage here on the roll. Now they're in Dominoes. The ball's moved around. They get a great shot. Here. Let me just see people. Sam's not online, but you know we seem to pick on Sam a lot with his girls' high clips. Just simple. We've got an advantage. Defenders behind. Someone steps up. We get layup. So it doesn't have to be this super flash, fancy 10 million passes. It can be as simple as just a driving dish or a driving kick. Another girls' high clip. Nothing's going on. Boom, we get a paint touch. Dominoes, she just kicks it out. We get a wide open three. So Golden State running some action. Nothing's going on. Boom, an advantage. Defenders trailing. We're now in Dominoes. They move the ball to get Clay a wide open three. So does anyone have any kind of questions around kind of what it is? No? All right. So obviously this is kind of, I was meant to play this before the video, but it's all right. Again, we're trying to knock these dominoes over. And so we've got to figure as coaches, what can we do to be the cat to knock that first domino over? So some key questions to ask ourselves is how are we going to trigger the first domino to fall? And then how are we going to keep the dominoes falling up to get a great shot? And so if you can kind of see this on here, there's kind of 4 ways to look at it when we're talking about your offense. to review about how we're going to get into dominoes. So the first one is, what is your system or actions? Like, can you create a system of play that's going to generate you dominoes all the time? Another one might be personnel. So like if you've got LeBron James on your team, he's going to be able to get you into dominoes by being LeBron James and being a superstar. The other one would be like opponent personnel. So I don't know, let's say Enes Kanter, who's terrible on defense, you can go at him because you know that he's going to give up blow-bys, and so he's going to generate your team offense, if that makes sense. So if someone's really bad on defense, then that helps you. And then coverages, it's kind of a more high-level one, but if teams are going to hedge or they're going to switch or they're going to blitz, can you use that to your advantage to get into dominoes? And so the little pie chart I made is kind of the percentage of all of those. And so for Girls High last year, the majority of ours was our system. So we didn't have any superstar players. We had good players. We didn't have any New Zealand players. And so we decided to play fast and free so that the girls could try and get dominoes that way. We didn't have anyone that could, like, we didn't have a Helen Matthews that could break people down and get into dominoes. We had to play as a team, and that was our system. So you got to think about what are your strengths and weaknesses, and then how you're going to generate dominoes each possession on every given game. So that's kind of when you're thinking about your offense for your club team, your school team, how we're going to get an advantage. And so, like Zach, you might, with Gators, you guys might go back and run triangle offense, I don't know. And then Josh, you might run middle ball screen. Like whatever it is, everyone's going to have a different way to get into dominoes based on their team. Okay. So first little interaction thing that I want to try. Haven't done this before, so hold on. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a second. So I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. We've got 4. So I'll put 4 people, 2 rooms. And what I want you to do is did everyone see like the breakout rooms come out?
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you join those, and then I'll share my screen again. So I'm just going to share my screen with what you guys want to discuss. So this is kind of your group, your team. So you've got, and if you can't remember them, just imagine you've got 5 players. And what would your pie chart look like to get into dominoes? So you've got the your team, like your system, your players, and then kind of what percentage of that would be what with this group of players. You're good with that? I'm just going to jump to the other room. Harry, you're good?
only be in one room at a time?
Yeah, I can only be in one room at a time, which is a little bit annoying.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll just stop sharing. Then how do I break out rooms? Join. All right. There we go. I have to jump back in between rooms, I think. So pretty much what I want you to do is this is your group. This is your, imagine this is your playing lineup. What percentage of your pie chart would be your system versus players? So if you can't use this group, just use your school team to think about it, but start thinking about what would be more system-based or player-based and how you might figure out what your offensive system is going to be, if that makes sense. So if you can't remember, I'll try and share my screen with everyone, but if you can't think of these 5 guys, just think of your school team or club team and what that would be. Cool? Any questions around that?
No, we're good.
All right, I want to figure out how to share with both of you.
Yeah, they can shoot. You can check point, corner.
I guess if we went with this NBA lineup, it could be a bit of a mixed bag. Like Chris Middleton could be a guy that could create for himself and create an advantage. But then guys like Marc Gasol is probably system based and is a great passer, and you could probably go either way, I reckon, with this group.
Yeah. And there's no, like, I haven't watched much of like Finney Smith play, so I don't know what his shot's like. But
The 3-and-D guy.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, like everyone there can like space the floor. You're not going to have anyone.
It can score. He can either shoot or he can get into the paint because he's a good paint finisher.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of options there. It really, I didn't really see the pie chart. What did the pie chart look like, George?
So it has like your percentage of system based versus player personnel versus your opponents, and because you don't have a game, you don't know who you're playing.
Yeah.
So mainly like what percentage of that would look like from your team perspective.
Probably personnel for those players would probably be personnel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In what way, Harry? How would you use that personnel?
So we'll just say you utilize your bigs in some sort of a horns aspect, and with what's the point guard's name again?
Dragic coming off on ball screens. Yeah.
Yeah, Josh just said that he's got a great left hand, so you get a lot of paint touches, and then use Chris Middleton in the probably corner for a 3.
Yeah. Okay. So is that then again? So is that more system based with where you're using everyone, or is it more give the ball to one person and let them do it?
Oh, system based.
Well, the one coming off the screen will always have to be Gordon Dragic for that matter because he's the best ball handler. You wouldn't really put Chris Middleton in an on-ball pick and roll action unless you want him to just shoot it off the pick and roll.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Because how many guys in that group are better than their matchup defensively on every night?
Probably only Blake.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Marc Gasol if he doesn't have a big guy in the paint.
Yeah. So you're having to use your system to be creative and getting those guys the shots that they need to get.
Yeah. So it really depends on who you play, I guess. If you have a good on-ball defender like a Pat Beverly marking Gordon Dragic, you're obviously going to go with your system because Pat Bev's one of the best on-ball defenders in the league, and Gordon's going to have trouble coming off. So you'd use your system for the on-ball screen in action. Yeah.
So then, so that pie chart might not be the same for every game because if, like you said, if Pat Beverly's an opponent personnel, he's really good on ball screen defense. So you might have to go to more post-ups or playing out of that. Yeah. So it's going to change slightly each game, but if you roughly know how you want to play.
Yeah. So if you got a guy that can't defend a fast guard playing on the perimeter, but he can score like a Kyle Korver or someone, you probably attack him off the dribble.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Middleton might be featured a little bit more.
Yeah. So it's like it'd be a game by game basis, I guess, depending on your opponent.
Cool. All right. We'll bring it all back into the middle here. I'll just give 30 seconds. Troy, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I didn't know. I don't hardly watch any NBA. I told the guys I hardly watch any NBA, so I didn't know any of those players. So I could only offer a system approach.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Which is not wrong in a sense. You can always use a system with all players.
Yeah. And so that's why I'll bring it back with the group. But the Tall Blacks who were at the World Cup, their system was to play fast and free and quick because they didn't have the players to. They had Fotu and Webster, but that was it. Yeah. Right. I'll just close all the rooms and bring us back.
So I'm walking around the convention centre, boys.
That's right. still figuring out how to use the Zoom, eh?
Yeah. Well, I only just downloaded it on my phone. Yeah.
You're doing pretty well.
Yeah. It's quite, if you can do the breakouts like this, then it can actually be quite beneficial.
Is this what Mel and them did the other night?
They wanted to do breakout rooms, but they couldn't figure it out. But everyone's figured it out now.
Sweet.
All right. So let's kind of like bring it back. Anyone want to share kind of some thoughts that they had around that?
Oh, you're not listening.
I just jumped in and out of the meetings. But the other group didn't hear what you guys are talking about, so.
I guess we kind of said like Chris Middleton could probably be like one of the main guys to potentially start it, but the rest of them would probably be fitting in more of a system. Like they can all space. There's no one you're kind of worrying about when they're stuck out at the 3. Like, so it's probably more of like a kind of system based.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we talked about the other group before as well. Like that's how the Tall Blacks had to play at the World Cup. They didn't have Giannis, or they didn't have this go-to wing that could get them 30 on any given night. They had to do something different to beat Greece, to beat Montenegro, to beat Brazil. And so that's why their system was to play fast, to shoot early, shoot often, because that was the way that they thought they were going to be able to win. And obviously they had Webster and Fotu, who could give them, on occasion, personnel advantages, but for the most part, they had to play as a team, play as a system. All right. Let me move that out of the way. So now to kind of the next question is how are we going to keep the dominoes falling? And so the first kind of one we've got to answer is, well, what is a great shot for us so our team knows, hey, like if you got that, like you got to shoot it. Like that's what we want. And then we'll talk about the 3 rules of dominoes. So there's a little analogy to kind of, I like to help with shot selection. I use this with the Girls High Girls. So imagine that you got 24 seconds at an Apple store and you go in and the employee's like, right, I'm going to hand you phones and you get to keep them at the end of 24 seconds, but you can only keep one. At the start, obviously, if they hand you a cracked phone, you're probably not going to keep it because you know that there's still other times where then you might be getting a better phone. And then if you're at the start and they give you the best phone in the store, you're probably going to take it straight away because you know that's the best you're going to get. So in terms of shots, that's kind of what we're trying to get at with shot selection. What are your cracked iPhones versus what are your iPhone 10s? And so, again, we'll put in some breakout groups in a couple of minutes, and I want you to discuss what an iPhone 10 shot might be and what an iPhone 5 shot might be, and anything around that. And you say you could use that group again as a bit of a reference. So let me figure this out again. Where did I put it? Breakout room. Recreate. Let's mix it up. All right, let's go with that. Open all rooms. There we go. So what's an iPhone 5 and what's an iPhone 10 shot?
$8 hours. So me and another guy on, so I'm just walking around. So not too bored. Yeah. It is.
Talk some hoops while you're at it.
Oh yeah. Hey, I've only got a couple of hours left, so I might as well talk hoops for an hour.
Yeah, fair enough. Good man.
Yeah. I've already done my find secret passages in this bloody building.
Of the ins and outs, eh? Sweet.
Oh, me and one of the other guys, we got lost through all the scaffolding and stuff for about 45 minutes. I was like, oh, that killed time.
Yeah. All right. So what are some iPhone 5 shots?
Contested.
Yeah, what does contested look like?
I think early, off balance, hand in the face. Yeah.
Yeah.
A non-shooter, or the person shooting the shot is in the wrong place that aren't supposed to be shooting that shot.
Yeah. So maybe like a Steven Adams just shooting threes the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. Maya, what would be an iPhone 10 shot?
Open drive.
Yeah. What else? What are some other iPhone 10s?
Fast break, like get the ball down the far. That or an open cut.
Open cut. Yeah. Blake.
An open corner 3 or just a open shot. High open shot, high percentage.
Yeah. So what does an open shot look like then?
If you got to drive to kick the corner with no defense.
Yeah.
No nothing, just wide open.
Yeah. So for example, take like a Kevin Durant. Is he ever going to get open shots? In that definition?
No, but yeah.
So what would a definition of open shot be for him?
Just hands down.
Yeah, so maybe hands down, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any other, like what might be like an iPhone 7 kind of in between, kind of like a...
Maybe a mismatch?
Yeah.
Mismatch or... I just love inside-outside shots, like saying the driving kicks, just could be a scout thing or... like we talk about the personnel, like we are bad at closeout, so it could be just a really bad long closeout could be a good look for us to attack.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna jump into the other group. We'll go like another couple minutes.
I guess finishing in contact.
Something George had said earlier. Oh no, George can say. Like anything that goes and draws a foul. He was talking like an iPhone 10. You know, anything that gets free throws, iPhone 10.
Yeah.
He's nodding, so I must have got that
right.
Yeah. Free throws at iPhone 10. If you get them, like people shoot 70% at least on those. You know.
Yeah. But yeah, so in the last 6 seconds, it's like it's almost anything that's going to get a shot up with a bit of contact or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, what did you define as like an iPhone 5?
Like contested mid-ranges early in the shot clock.
Yeah.
Is one of them.
Yeah.
Pretty much almost anything like properly contested in the first like half of the shot clock.
Yeah.
Probably get it something more open later on.
Yeah.
The other thing that I said when you were there, George, is that it depends on the level and the age group that you're coaching, because like you mentioned like last time, you know, corner threes, uncontested corner threes, iPhone 10, but there are some teams where it's like the last shot you want them to take.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, it's putting up a prayer.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to know your players and know your... So then you've got to design, I suppose, and that comes back to the system. You've got to try and design shots that aren't going to be corner threes, if that makes sense. So what can we get instead? If we're really good at pull-ups, then maybe we've got to do, or mid-range, and then we've got to play out of that so that we can get the shots that better suit our group. All right. Anything else, Harry? What have you got to contribute?
No, just one thing I said was just rush shots at the end of the shot clock.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just close this. So, for like, so you talked about before, Cam, saying, you know, pull up mid-range jump shot is not a good shot. At 21 seconds, it's not a good shot. But if you're getting that at 4 seconds, you're going to take that, aren't you?
100%, yeah.
Yeah, because it's better than having nothing, which is kind of the idea. So I think it's a really good analogy to try and get kids thinking a little bit about what shots we want. Because they all relate to what a phone is.
Yeah. You have to click return to the session.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just... Jerry. All right. So kind of everyone was talking about the same kind of stuff. And yeah, I really like Troy, Harry, and Cam, how they talked about like a contested pull-up jump shot at 21 seconds is something that you don't want, but with 5 seconds left, that's the shot. You're going to take that shot because it's better than no shot at all. So yeah, your shot, what defines a great shot changes as the shot clock runs down, I suppose. Yeah. Did anyone have any other thoughts around that?
Oh, just at the end, we talked about personnel and then also defining what a good shot is for certain players.
Yep.
Yeah, like I was just telling to the other group that if I was doing it, there'd be a conversation individually with each individual player. Say, hey, this is your 10 shot. This is maybe your 5 shot.
Mm-hmm.
This is your, like, you are definitely not taking that one.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So you'd have an overall team one and then an individual one as well?
Yeah. You'd say this is a team one. We can take this shot. Anyone can take it. And then individually go, maybe not. You can't do what this person can do. That's them. You have. This is yours. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. No, I like that. That's cool. All right. So the 3 rules. So the first one is the ball does not stop. So once we generate that advantage, the ball's got to keep moving around and play with like a first touch concept. So I don't know who's played soccer before or football, but playing with the first touch so that we know what we're doing before we catch it. And this is to try and stop the defense from catching back up and then having to now generate another advantage. So I'll show you some video. Oh, hold on. Move you guys out of the way. So in that position, the ball just doesn't stick. There's no triple threats. Straight on to the next thing. Constant player movement. The defense is just chasing them the whole time. Then we get a pretty good dump. So Dominoes is triggered. Fast passes, ball never sticks. Corner 3. He attack the closeout, we get that paint touch, and then everyone's spaced and the ball just moves around. It's pretty to watch. If you want to watch a team do it a lot, the Jazz are very good. This is a girls' high example. We'll ignore that pass, but we'll keep the ball doesn't stick. We attack, ball moves again, keeps moving around, and we get a shot. So it's that quick decision. We don't want to catch and hold it and play out a triple threat once we get this dominoes going. Dominoes is triggered, open on layup, ball moves, done. Another girls' high clip. It's going to be easy as this. Catch it and just quick decision out. Pass. So Bella saw the help coming in and was already trying to get it out there. So we got the open shot.
Just on that clip though, George, is like, is that the importance of your wings holding their spot?
Yep. Knowing that's the shots that we're going to want, you know, like we know Mia's a good shooter. We want the corner 3, so she stays there so that she spaced the floor. And she could potentially lift a little bit to get in this passing lane, but the high school girls, we're not going to be too picky here. Yeah. She gets, sorry, Maya, not being offensive.
That's all right.
But yeah, that's where your rules come in place, and players knowing what shots are best for them. Last one. This clip gets pretty messy, and so it's an example of what can happen when you try and tell them to keep the ball moving, but you just got to kind of play through it and live with the randomness of it, because they end up with that. So there are going to be times where it's ugly, they're throwing random passes, but you got to work through that and continue to try and build the concept of the ball doesn't stick. Oh shit, I should not have done that. Sorry. All right. The second rule is one cannot guard two. So the worst thing on like a drive and someone helps is someone else being able to guard the driver and their own player. That completely kills it. There's no spacing. We can't keep the ball moving. So it's really important that the players learn to move so that their defender can't guard them and someone else. So that's where you got your dribble reaction, so dribble pulls, dribble pushes, and then you can get some stuff on the weak side for the higher level. Some EuroLeague stuff. So everyone shifts to create space, and then on this ball screen, this guy moves, so this guy can't guard. So here's how it pinches in. If he stood where he was, he could stunt on the ball screen and help on his man. But because this guy's moved, he's now open and this guy's guarding no one. So that's the idea of it. One can't guard two. Your man can't help on a drive and then help on still be able to guard you. So on this pick and roll, this defender here, so Crowder's defender is kind of helping on this the roll man. If he just stays there, he knows that he's back there, so he can kind of recover. Because he can't see him, he cuts, and now he can't guard both his man and help on some other action. So he got punished for helping. So one can't guard two players. So a bit of ball screen stuff here, but this guy cuts because then this man here can't help on this drive and his man. He doesn't see him cut, so this low person now has to help, which leaves the corner wide open. So just another way on the weak side to kind of manipulate the defense so that one person can't guard two. Another example of the same kind of idea is a screen. This man trying to help on here to stop that pass, but because he cut, he's now wide open. If he stayed there on the wing, this defender could stunt, take away Horford, but then still guard his man. So he cut, now he's wide open when they play and get another action. Does anyone have any questions around this as I go through it?
No, I just think the hardest thing is to get the players to understand the action of what triggers and what's a re-trigger of it all.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you could have someone driving really hard and then everyone folds towards the hoop because they think he's assuming he's going to take the shot.
Yeah.
For instance, and then he kicks it out and there's no one there.
Yeah. So that's where, we'll kind of get to it, but they've got to know, not assume that they're going to shoot it. It's like a really hard habit to take out of kids. What's the next thing that could happen?
Yeah, like I think from a player's point of view, it's going to be seeing who is your best option to pass to and how to keep the ball constantly moving.
Yeah.
So having to stop and think about where's your next action.
Yeah. So then that's kind of where those rules come in place. So on a baseline drive that someone's going to be filling the corner. And if you know that, you can kind of build that habit of throwing that pass there. Someone's going to be there. There's that trust connection.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll kind of get to that point about drilling it at the very end. EuroLeague game. So on this ball screen, he's going this way. This defender here is trying to stunt on this ball handler. This wing shifts so that he stretches this guy so he can't guard the ball and him. And now he's got a wide open 3 to attack the closeout. So look where he starts. He's starting on the slot. And as he drives, he's shifting. Now he's stretched this defender here, attacks a closeout, and gets to his spot. We get another 3 again because this guy, watch where he starts. He shifts, his man's stunting, he's shifting. Now he's got a wide open 3. All right. So that was rule 2. Oh my gosh, why did I do that again? Rule 3 is interspace and outer space. So once we drive or we do something, we need to move so that someone else can re-attack that space. Otherwise, we're just clogging it up. And this is where it comes into that don't assume they're going to shoot it, Matt. And so like a girls' high clip here. Oh. Again, it's not perfect because they're still kind of learning this stuff as well, but it's a good context. So Sammy drives, she kicks it to Marley, and Marley should really look to shoot that. But anyway, Sammy what happens a lot in high school girls basketball especially is she'll screen here and kind of clog this up, but she starts to, but then she realizes and wheels out so that she's now created space and she gets an open shot. Not like a super good example, but an idea of once you drive and kick it, wheeling out to the space so that the person can drive in and then you've created an offense for yourself. Another example of it from girls high. So Elsie's in the space that Bella wants to drive, so she wheels out of there. Her defender's got to make a decision. Do I stay on Bella and help, or do I follow my player out and then causes confusion? I'm getting open 3. NBA example. We're watching Danny Green here, number 4. So he drives into space, he keeps moving, he doesn't stay still, relocates back out, and gets a 3. Danny Green again. Into space, keeps moving, relocates back out to get a shot. So there's that next play. What can I do next? Yeah, I drove, cool, but what am I doing next? Yeah, he drove, what am I doing next? Constantly thinking that I've still got to be in a position to be able to help my teammate out on a drive for a kick out or whatever it is. Oh, I played that one. Joe Ingles here. He drives. He relocates. That's the shot. So that's that kind of one of Sammy. From Girls High, the first clip. He drove, kicks it out. He doesn't hang around. He spaces so that now this guy here, do I help on the drive? Do I help on the shooter? I'm not too sure what to do. That's that. Yeah, so that's kind of the 3 rules of it. Just a couple of other thoughts that kind of Matt was talking about. You need everyone to realize that when Dominoes has been triggered. So take someone's driving on a closeout because they attacked it, and then the big's trying to come and set a ball screen because he thinks that's still part of the play. They need to be on the same page of, oh man, this guy's now got an advantage. We're now in Dominoes. We're not in the play anymore. That's a really hard thing to get to, but it's just practice and ripping it out. And then your team should find advantages. So little moments. So, someone might be doing up a shoelace or hands on their knees or whatever it is. Can we attack that person and get into Dominoes that way rather than running the play? Just a little food for thought. So triggers is kind of how you get into Dominoes, and that's your system. So, what Gators run is completely different to what Boys High runs, which is completely different to what Rangiora runs. And there's just a couple of different ways you can trigger Dominoes with the first domino falling. So you can go one-on-one. So it can be dynamic, or it can be, you've got LeBron James and he isolates. You've got your duets, which is like 2-man action. So ball screens, handoffs. How can we get into Dominoes through those 2? And then you've got kind of 3-man action trios, which are more like half-court sets, horns, pistol, Nash. And if you don't know what these are, I can send you an example of them. But just different actions that we can run with 3 players that are going to kind of trigger an advantage and get Dominoes. Alex Samara up here, he did an awesome presentation. I know a couple of people on this have watched it. Can probably confirm how good it was. But yeah, he talked about Dominoes as well and how they design their offense using these triggers to get into Dominoes. Zach, do you want to talk about that at all? Or
yeah, I definitely recommend watching that. The Alex Saramara, clinic. So I think the analogies he's used, like you got there, the solos and the duets and that, really explain it quite well. But then, yeah, again, I think the challenge for me is like you said before, how the players' understanding of when we're in Dominoes and when to carry on with the set or whatever it is you're doing is going to be tough for me teaching this year.
Yeah.
Get player understanding.
And I'll just say, sorry, it's Jackie. I don't know if anyone else jumped in. But the small live drills that he said he used, and then he sent out that PDF via Instagram with a whole lot of them. Like, that stuff's really useful for building habits as well, I think.
Yeah. I'll send that PDF out with the link to the recorded video. But yeah, there's some really cool drills in there to help build this up. So yeah, we're going to talk about building up. So the last kind of breakout group, like you've kind of got the 3 rules. You've seen some examples of what a good shot is that we talked about. So how would you build this up? How would you kind of drill it? Where would you start? What would it look like? And so we'll kind of put you into the final breakout group. So just going to talk about how would you build it up. All right, let's do that. So how would you build this? How would you drill it?
So it's just like training stuff, like how we build it up and build the kind of system.
Yeah. Or how would you start it? What would it look like when you're trying to build this Dominoes concept into your team?
I guess you'd start with your basis of your team makeup, who's in your team, and then you go from there, I guess. Like you could have 1 year some really good players, and then the next year that the group that you have, the younger group that you had, you're going to have to change it completely because they're probably not as good or understand it as well as the other group. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So if you had that new group and you're starting from scratch, what would you do first to build this?
I think you probably go slightly more system based, so the system can get them started more often maybe, and then as I understand it, then you can start peeling it back to then have them more freedom to be creative.
Yeah. So then carry on, Josh?
You'd put in your base sets of like what your offense would look like before you actually break it down into like, hey, if we get this advantage, this is what we want. Just kind of like it'll be more of a breakdown situation, I guess, piece by piece in each part of your offense. It really depends on what you want to run, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? So in terms of like the skills to build within. So you get your advantage and the skills, around one can't guard two. How would you build one can't guard two?
I think having like principles or like rules on certain drives or certain actions or where those players need to be. Like we talked about like a baseline drive, filling that weak side corner.
Yeah.
Or whatever action it is, it's having that sort of understanding of where they're going.
Yeah.
I think creating relocation habits is probably one of the first ones to work on. So like getting guys playing on strings, even if it's just 3-on-0 to start, and just creating habits. So when you do have an advantage start, you've got guys making the right movements, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing for girls is actually getting them to run out of the paint instead of them standing. Because I'm talking from a perspective of coaching girls for so long, that when they drive, they pass and they just stand.
Yeah.
Or they scream like Sammy did in that clip.
Yeah.
And I guess like for them, I think guys, they do it naturally. You just like, because I'm thinking about when I played, I'd just get in the paint, kick it, and I'd probably just run straight out to the free anyway.
Yeah.
And we do that as guys naturally, but girls, they tended to stand. Like, I'll go set a screen. I guess breaking it down even more for girls is like Jack just said, drills 3-on, like getting them to relocate out of a drill, penetrate, kick. You need to run to this spot, and then changing it from different angles, I guess.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So then once you've kind of got that down, what would be your next progression? I'll leave that as your prompt as I move to the next room.
Yeah, I like how you're leading the way, George.
Playing the game at real speed and fast. How do you trigger against a zone? That's what I found the hardest.
Do you want an answer to that, Matt?
No, I mean that's one of the things. I put the onus back on the players. You can answer that, George. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So how would you create? I'm gonna throw it back on you. So how can you generate an advantage against a zone?
Well, we came up against what mainly a box and one or a bullshit box and one or a 2-3.
Yeah.
I tried to put the best guard up against, obviously a defender, obviously.
Yeah.
Getting him to try and beat him, obviously beat the one player.
Yeah.
And then that started the trigger, but we seemed to get into a bubble where no one else knew what to do from that.
Yeah.
Because they were in that zone, and the players, the personnel that we had, they couldn't get themselves out of that sort of bubble. It was really hard, really quite frustrating.
Okay. Because the idea of on his offense against the zone is to try and create 2v1s and distort. So we're using screens or high-low, whatever it is, where one person doesn't know who to guard. But the movements should still really be the same. Like once Dominoes is triggered, there should still be like, on a drive or corner field, like you need to get that corner field, or if you can cut against, like that's why it's quite good if we can understand dominoes. It doesn't matter what offenses or what defense are. Once you get an advantage, it should just become habits.
Yeah.
But it is hard for that 20s group because they've been so stuck to one way of playing to try and change it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what did you guys talk about around building it up? How would you start? What would your first practice look like? Or
I just basically shed the drill that I use the most is the Leonard King drill.
Yeah.
The 2 on the baseline and 3 above the foul line extended.
Yeah.
Understanding that concept starts the trigger. Obviously, shoot or pass, drive to paint to create the action. And then where do you go from there? That was the next step.
Yeah. So does anyone have any thoughts around that?
I think my approach would be different at different age levels. At like under 17, under 20 level, I'd start by doing like drive circle movement, getting that habit to drive, kick out. And then the next action after that would be like getting that person to, if they don't have the open shot, driving, Laker Cup type thing or post slides for the open person, kicking out to the other people on the perimeter who are, just build it up from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then what would be the next? So like you got the perimeter slides and then Matt would talk about decision making. So I think that's probably going to be the next layer. So then how would you work on more of that advantage decision making within your context of your offense? If that makes sense. Or did I word that poorly?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
How could you build that?
Like another layer, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So like you run a lot of ball screens.
Yeah.
How can you work on playing out an advantage out of a ball screen?
We do. Just trying to think what we actually did from that. Go, man.
No, I'm a bit. I think I'm a bit lost.
You're a bit lost. That's all right. This is probably, to be fair, like it's gonna be good learning for you. But
I've got the whole dominoes effect and how you bring it on, but I'm confused about what you're talking about at the moment.
So how would you you got a team for the first time and dominoes was what you wanted to teach them? How would you start? And then where would you carry it to?
From there.
Yeah. Harry, you've got anything?
No, but I kind of understand it more since Matt taught it to us last year.
Yeah.
But I think, just knowing the hardest part is, knowing where to stand.
Yeah.
And staying there, because I automatically would go for the rebound, or people just stay still and just expect the person with the ball to do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So they don't really, do the next step and then anticipate what's going to happen.
That's a key word. I like that, anticipating. Yeah. Knowing what your teammate can do, what the defense is doing, and that's that first touch decisions.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone have any other thoughts around that before we bring it back?
I also try to use the concept when you're playing touch, you put the ball into space and someone's going to fill that with and catch that ball.
Yeah.
Try to pass the space, not to a player, to a certain degree.
I'm
trying to bring up my rugby and my touch back.
Yeah.
But,
that's really good because a lot of the kids would understand that more, like rugby, like being a Kiwi. Most kids have played rugby or touch or league, so they understand that concept maybe more than what they would the basketball specific. Yeah.
Hardest thing is just getting the buy-in.
Yeah.
And to understand it and what it actually, the concept of actually wanting to do it.
And hold that thought and we'll bring it up and ask the group, how can we build buy-in?
Nice.
All right. I'll return.
Have a balance of both.
Yeah. Well, that means when you're doing it, you're exposing them to different types of situations or different types of coaching which actually helps them in the long run. Whereas if they come into an environment that's really structured, you have to play the offense, they already know how to do that. Or unless, and then you put them in a situation where they've been playing this dominoes effect and it's free flowing, they can adapt to each situation.
Yeah.
So you actually,
I think it's
helping
important.
them. Yeah, you're helping them build their IQ, I guess.
So to kind of piggyback off that, and what a question was brought up before in the last group that I was in, is how can we build the buy-in with the players with this so that they understand the importance of it and want to keep doing it, or implement it and not give resistance? What are some potential buy-in tools we could use?
I just reckon this is so much more fun than walking down the court and having to run a set that the coach is telling you to do.
Yeah, I agree.
You're actually just playing basketball.
Yeah.
That was my kind of like pitch to the boys. Like, you guys want to go out and ball, like play at lunchtime and stuff. Like, we'll add a little bit more structure so we can, make it effective and consistent. But you guys are still just playing ball rather than just running where you're told.
Yeah, I love the phrase that Alex and Mike, who I put at the start, use. It's structured creativity.
Yeah. You're pretty much putting them in an environment where you control it, but you're letting them be free in a sense. They can create their own type of expression, I get.
Express themselves.
You're giving them a freedom of expression, but in a controlled environment where you're controlling it without them knowing.
Yeah. Matt, do you have any, since it was kind of your thought, do you have any?
Yeah, I do, because I mean, don't take this the wrong way, but I was lucky to an extent. I spent a year with Mark Dickel, and I obviously went walking with him a couple of times, and like, the way everyone knows the way he coaches, he's yelling and screaming from the sideline, "This is the play you've got to run," and then when the players didn't hear anything from him, they didn't know what to do. So I sort of took all that on board, and when I got a hold of my own team, the Waitaha team, it was like offensive freedom is what I'm going to play. I didn't yell and scream anything to the players at all, so I gave them the freedom to make up their own decisions, is what we're all sort of talking about. So but the buy-in side of it was quite hard, because they were so used to having someone thrown down their throat. This is what you've got to run. This is what you've got to run.
Yeah, I understand that. I know for a fact that with no offense to is it Maya? Maya. With girls love structure. They love it. They love to do what you say. They want to know how you do it, how it's every little inch of where you want to be. Whereas they really just need a little bit more freedom to think for themselves. So I guess with this, we're trying to get the kids to think more for themselves, because at the end of the day, we're not the ones that can do it on the court. They're the ones that have to do it on the court. They're the ones that put the ball in the hoop, dribble the ball. We can put the instructions in place, but at the end of the day, they've actually got to think for themselves on the court, because it's a split-second decision that they need to make that we can't make for them.
Yeah.
It's a lot better for them to think for themselves, I guess.
I think it's probably important then as well, like as coaches, if we're putting our players in the situation where they're making more decisions, it's maybe a bit more messy, like making sure it's known that we're like very okay with mistakes and things like that. There's no because that's the benefit of having a set, is if a player can understand the set 100%, they can get through that without making mistakes. They feel like they've achieved what they were supposed to do. But if they know within Dominoes, it got messy and we didn't get the right thing we wanted, but the coach isn't going to go nuts at me, they feel comfortable to try it again next possession.
Yeah, and I think as long with that as well, it's everyone's been talking about decisions and making quick decisions. So what are we doing in practice that's going to help the kids succeed in the game with those decisions? And so that's kind of where this next slide, so kind of my last slide, this is how I would kind of build it and what I kind of do with Girls High, and how I've done it with the under 13 kids. And so at the start, I would do a whole bunch of advantage drills. So they've already been given a scripted advantage. So the defense is starting behind them, or the defense has got to go and touch a line before they can get back in 3-on-2 +1, whatever it is, so that they're building up those decisions of I'm driving to the hoop or I've got to cut to the hoop. Someone comes and helps. Oh shit, what do I do? And then within that, you're building different situations from starting points. You know, you might have 2-on-2 and someone's in the corner in a wing drive baseline, and then you might make it 2-on-2 with a dunker spot, short corner, working on that. You know, just different ways to build in the reads with a set advantage. And then once they got that, you'd layer it in with your offense. So, you know, if you're using lots of ball screens or lots of get actions or whatever it is, how can you create advantages so that they're learning to play off that? So rather than being a random drive, it's we've come off this action, we've got this advantage, now we play. And so kind of how I do that is like a 3-on-3, you know, middle ball screen, but the defense on the ball carriers starting on their back. So they're already at a disadvantage defensively. Offense can get to the rim. Is someone going to help? Is someone not going to help? And then play off that. And then the last one is now we've got to put them in neutral situations where there's no advantage. They've got to create an advantage now. So that's where they have to come off that ball screen, read the defense properly, who's open, and go from there. And then obviously you could put them in disadvantaged situations, but I think that's kind of how we progress it, how I would progress it. Obviously I put down the bottom, you need to teach the kids how to read the defense on each action. That's probably the overarching thing is decision making. If they can't make the right decisions, then it's never going to work. But does anyone have any agree with that, disagree with that, want to build on that, challenge that?
No, I just love that system. It's such a cool concept to play. It's giving the kids the freedom to play and express themselves. It's pretty cool to watch, especially at 13s, 15s level when they're new to it and they embrace it. When you go higher, it's probably a little bit harder, more of a challenge as a coach.
It's no stress, no having to worry about not mucking up or.
Yeah. Jack, you guys are doing this with Middleton this year?
Yeah, we plan to, and use most of these things with a couple of sets. I was just about to actually ask what sets you ran with Girls High last year along with this.
Yeah, well,
surely you can give up your playbook now that you're not coaching there anymore, right?
I've got to talk to Tom first. But in the reality, it doesn't matter what the playbook is. That's what's kind of cool about it. Like, it's just whatever you're best for your group. You know, like you've got Zach Hannon, who's pretty like, you know, controlled, makes the right decision. So what are you doing to get him in a situation where he might be able to create or trigger dominoes for the team?
I was just more meaning like, you know, if a make defense. What are you running into to create an advantage? Is there anything that you found that was super beneficial?
Finding ways to create double gaps would be at the girls level, so that you can get right hand downhill.
Yeah. Or give the ball to Elsie.
Yeah. If I was coaching Girls High this year, Elsie would be heavily featured. Heavily featured, because she just will get to the rim at will.
She's an automatic paint touch.
Yeah. Whereas like, you know, Stack this year having like Tane and those kind of guys, like I don't know what Allard will do to, you know, but Cam might be able to say a little bit to give away some scout, but you know, what they will do differently to what you guys will do, but you know, theoretically you both be running dominoes, but just getting into it different ways.
Also curious with the, sorry, I don't know if anyone else had a question, but with the get section, did you use gets with Girls High last year, right?
Yeah.
What did you use? You like gets in the middle third very often?
That's where we mainly ran it. Yeah.
Really?
Like, right, as like a trail drag screen would be a get instead. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I just trying to, you know, get in like how to teach it. Because I like with the when the outside thirds, you can kind of teach it, and you can do pistol action, and you can do a whole lot of reads around the pistol action stuff. But just with the middle third, it kind of seems like it's a little bit awkward at times. But I guess once you get into it.
Yeah. I was talking to Mike McKay yesterday, and he said that he teaches the get the very first time he does it 3-on-3 off the sidelines out of bounds.
Yeah.
And then when you throw it in, you're coming off the get wherever it's caught. And that way you can build in the reads and decision making off that without really worrying about where it is in terms of your offense, and then layer that in. Which I thought was quite clever.
Yeah.
Because then all the sideline out of bounds is just gets actions. So that was kind of that. But happy to share any thing around that. Around the play, kind of what we did, Jack, was make or miss or steal. We're running in transition and playing free, and then on a referee's touch, we're running a set to try and get an advantage. Yeah, because the defense is neutral. So it's neutral on an out of bounds. The defense is set up, so it should theoretically be neutral. So what are we doing to generate an advantage that way? But off a make or a miss, generally someone on defense is a bit slow to react, or they're having a bitch to the referee about a missed foul call or whatever it is. You can generally kind of pick on that and try and use that as your way to get into Dominoes. Yeah. We're going for about an hour, so we'll kind of wrap it up. Does anyone have any questions on that? I'll send out the slides. I'll recorded this and I'll post it. So any questions, fire away. Hopefully this kind of format was better than what it was last week. Any feedback around that would be good. And then next week I kind of want to do a bit of a defensive session, and so we're going to do a little bit of. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
I love a good defensive session.
Doing the Bob Marley song, we can't hear that.
Yeah, we can't hear that.
You can't hear it?
No.
Taking a wild guess, and it doesn't say. Is it the jamming song?
Yeah, you know it.
I can't hear it, but I just know it's a jamming song.
Oh, that's because it's coming through my headphones. Yeah, it's jamming. We're gonna do some jamming to some Pack D. Yeah, I was trying to be funny, but obviously it didn't work. Got to work on that.